I'm Nicole Sperling with Vanity Fair. Thank you all for being here. Tonight I have the pleasure of moderating the SAG Foundation conversation for the season 2 finale episode of Queen Sugar. As you probably all know, Queen Sugar is created and executive produced by Academy Award nominated director Ava DuVernay and executive produced by Oprah Winfrey. And just as Ava did for season 1, she assembled for season 2 an all-female directorial team, along with one of the most inclusive crews in Hollywood, both in front and behind the camera. Tonight, though, we will speak with the talented cast that makes this series so emotionally gripping. So please join me as we welcome to the stage Dondre Whitfield, Omar Dorsey, Nicolas Ashe, Bianca Lawson, Timon Durrett, Kofi Siriboe, Tina Lifford, Kofi Siriboe. I know. Dawn-Lyen Gardner. And Rutina Wesley.
So that you can get.
Hey, y'all slide down. Slide down.
Yeah, slide down. Slide down so she can just. Oh. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, come around the front. All right.
Hey, Kevin's here.
That's how much she care about y'all. She came out with the crutches. Still.
That's why we have Kevin.
Boom.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Well, what an ending to a season, huh? So much for happy endings. Huh? So I think we have to start with Bianca and Kofi, and I got to hear how it all went down when you first read the scripts, when you found out about Blue's paternity, and how you took that all in, and how you went about filming that scene at the swimming pool.
Honestly, Ava called prior to us seeing the script because I guess the subject matter, she didn't want us to be blindsided. So it was like hey, like the audience. She's like, hey, so, I haven't sent you guys the script yet. And so Blue's not your son. And everything I felt on camera, I experienced in my hotel room because I was like, what? I know you Ava, but what do you mean? Like, have you thought this through? But her thing was she had that plan from the get. This was before season one. She already knew that, and because the love is so real, my black self didn't think that wasn't my son. But it wasn't my son, and I there was no processing it. You just had to deal with it. So everything on camera was literally me processing it, and it just came out,
It's rough, man.
Yeah, real rough.
Bianca?
So the morning before the script came out, Ava called me, and she told me, we went through like Darla's whole backstory, and her parents and everything. And so it was this whole long story, and I'm like, okay, this is so interesting. This is so wonderful. And then she's like, okay, now this is the big secret, though, that Darla has, that she's been carrying. And she told me, and I was in shock. I don't even know how I felt. And she was like, are you surprised? That's shocking. And it took a minute to land on me. I actually couldn't feel anything, really. I was like stunned, and I was like processing it all. And that day I had to do a scene where I was supposed to be so happy, and I just could not. I was like grieving for Darla, for Elf Angel, for Blue. And Kofi and I would talk about it a little bit. We were standing off off stage waiting to enter into the scene where I'm supposed to be deliriously happy, and I'm like, I can't even look at you, I can't even talk about it, so I'm gonna start crying, and I'm not supposed to be sad in this scene. But to me, it just made my heart break for Darla even more, because she's been through all of the things we've already seen her go through. She's been sitting with this during all of that.
Y'all can't lie, Darla be looking sneaky though. She be looking sneaky. Oh, what's she hiding? She hiding something, yo. I ain't know what it was, but they got us. They got us.
Sneaky. I don't think she's sneaky.
Well, I do wonder, Bianca, if you would have played her differently if you had known from the get-go that you were holding the secret for all this time. Like, you didn't find out.
No, I don't think that I would have played it differently, because the way it happened, I mean, she was so young, she went back home, she was with her friends at a party. It was the first time she'd ever done hard drugs, so there was still like a purity about her. And she doesn't even remember, she can't even remember the night she was that out of it. It could have been one guy, could have been 20 guys. So there's something really traumatic about that. No,
Wow.
No, but it's not funny, it's really sad.
This turned into a Showtime show, huh? What's going on?
Well, no,
okay.
That's really sad, because then you don't know, like, what is the first movement? What's that first thing that leads you down a spiral, a path, and you don't know how trauma affects people, So no.
So Dawn, Charley has been through quite a lot this season. She's been navigating a whole bunch, parenting Michael, grappling with Micah, grappling with the constant threat of the Landrys. Even your hair underwent a transformation.
My hair went through a lot.
It went through a lot. I appreciated it a lot. What about her trajectory did you find most challenging, and what about it was most satisfying to you as an actress?
Now that we're talking about the end, about the finale, the end. Literally the very, very end, because we got that script pretty late. So some of us were getting it, day of shooting, and that was the case for me. So that scene, I just remember wrapping my mind around not the partnering. I was like, that's so badass that she's like gonna try and take them down from the inside. I was also conflicted, because having anything to do with them felt like a betrayal in some way, like I was processing that. But then to actually I remember I read she takes his hand, I was like, she takes his hand? I was just sort of horrified, I really was. It took me a second, I had about 12 hours to process, so I had to do it fast. But it broke my heart. It really broke, the entire sequence broke my heart, from Remy to that. So that was actually the absolute hardest, because I felt like even though she's doing it for the right reasons, and she's got her, she always has her ace and is always gonna, do an unexpected move, and there's a deliciousness about wanting to see her accomplish this, whatever it is she's gonna do. There's just something about them that is such an insidious, it's got an insidious quality, and to touch it, to even go near it is like, don't do that. That's betrayal of your father, of your history, of your family, all those things. So it was the hardest thing for me to reconcile the entire season.
Now, Rutina, Nova, she got some good love in this season.
Well,
Sweet love. But it really wasn't, it was never enough, because her career and her passion and her activism, that is her primary love. So tell me about the struggles and growth that she went through in the season, and did you want her to wind up with either man?
I'm not going to say that out loud. I'll just see what happens. I do, actually. I do have a choice in Rutina's head. Nova has a hard time embracing love. Or letting someone love her, allowing someone to really love her. And I think she's afraid of it for some reason. And it seems like this season we were really starting to get to what makes Nova tick, why she is the way she is. And I think something in her childhood And something in that has her kind of with men. I feel like there's just something that she's afraid of love. It's just love. And I love that she's messy, but it's beautiful. It's like she's an intentional mess. I think she likes to be all over the place, but I think she's wanting stability. I think she's actually wanting to maybe just settle down. And I think with Calvin, it was really hard because I think when he wanted to settle down, she didn't want to settle down. And now that she's ready, he was married and it's all this stuff. So she's like, she keeps missing the boat. Dubois, on the other hand, he's an intellectual, isn't he? And he kind of got in her head. And a man that can really get in your brain and like talk with you, call you on your shit, all of that is what he was. And so she was really confused. But I think Calvin is, for Nova, is a deep love from like college. Like they go way back. And wouldn't that be great if you end up with what you think is the love of your life? He walks into a room and she loses her breath. She loses her, like he makes me nervous. Like he actually makes me nervous, which is kind of funny. Cause he's fine, he's fine. So just seeing her as a woman, and I blush, just seeing her grapple with that. And then really considering like maybe with Calvin, they've been through too much. Like, I don't know if they can overcome that night in the bar when she was spit in the face. I don't know. When she had to look at him and she was like, you never asked me about it at all. Like, you actually never asked. Like, that was hard for me because I was like, what does this woman do? Because she loves this man, but then we've got race, we've got police, but there's just all these things that keep getting in the way of their love. So I think she's still going to navigate it. I don't think it's over, maybe necessarily, but I think she's going to take a moment for herself, maybe, and be still so she can really, consider what she wants and maybe figure that out.
Now, Tina, Vi gets to be maternal. She has new career goals. She gets to be sexual. And then she has a hit with lupus. She's totally, brought down. This role has allowed you to do so much this season. It's just been like up and down and up and down. What has it meant to you, and how much of Tina is in Vi?
Well, I have lupus. No, I don't.
So kidding.
That's her personality. She does these jokes and nobody else says she doesn't have lupus.
She does this all the time.
Don't mind her.
This is what we experience every day on the
set. She doesn't have lupus, guys.
That nonsense right there.
We are so sorry.
Cannot believe you.
Okay, just a little bit of levity. Come on, guys. Okay, so we've got serious business going on here, okay?
Oh my God!
I have to tell you, that playing Aunt Vi is an honor, and it's an honor for a number of reasons. First and foremost, and you all, if in fact you can come up with the name of a character, throughout television history that disputes what I'm about to say, please let me know afterwards. But it occurred to me that the auntie, this wonderful character that I'm having the opportunity of playing, is an archetype. We all know her. We all know her. She's in all of our families, and yet we haven't really seen her on television. We've seen like an aspect of her life, maybe the sexual part. But in terms of a woman who is older and fully living a 360 life, we haven't seen that. And so Ava DuVernay brings that to the screen. And it's an honor also because I've come to believe that Aunt Vi is Ava's love letter to her mom. She loves her mother, and she loves that her mother is a vivacious woman, is a woman who is still alive and who is modeling that. So for me to be able to step into that love letter, that love connection, is really an honor. And I have to tell you, it is thrilling to be able to model and be a place for women of all ages. The young women come up to me and older women come up to me. The young women are coming up aspirationally or, feeling good about feeling connected to Aunt Vi. And then the older women are coming and feeling good about seeing themselves through me. So that's an actor's dream.
Now, Nick, you've had quite a season. Tell us a little bit about navigating the lead up to the breakdown when you have your conversation with your dad about your brush with police brutality and how the slow burn of leading up to that moment and how you navigated all of that.
It was interesting. I believe in a God that's always on time. So I was so happy with the progression that happened with Micah as it corresponded with what I was dealing with. Like in the past year, we both have had to confront our blackness and our politics in a really immediate way. Me because of what's happening in the country, and his because of, when he got pulled over by the police. And they had given me the monologue that happens in episode 208 before we filmed the first episode. So I knew, unlike, Bianca was talking about, she didn't know about the blue thing. But I was carrying that all through the second season and waiting to see how it would finally be revealed. None of my actors, knew what happened. They were genuinely, so I think that made a really interesting dynamic. And when the moment finally happened, it was like a real catharsis, especially, saying it to my father who I'd had a struggle with. And it's a trick question because he was so supportive during that. The set, we take great pride in the stories that we tell. So the set, there was just a stillness and a respect for what it was we were trying to create. And I think we captured something really magical. Yeah.
Now I have a question for Omar, Dondre, Kofi, and Timon. And I want you all to talk about the depictions of masculinity in the show, because for all of you, you have from Ralph Angel's proposal to the swimming pool scene, obviously, but to Davis's response to Micah's story, to Hollywood's adoration for Aunt Vi, to Dondre's honesty with Charley. I called you Dondre instead of Remy, sorry. What opportunities as actors, has this show given you? And is it different than other projects? Does it feel new? Does it feel like you're able to explore things that you haven't been able to explore in characters in your previous work?
100% in my opinion. From my perspective. I've never played a character like this before, and it's amazing that I'm directed by women because they give me a different strategy going in. Like I say, a lot of times I come at things a lot of times with machismo, cocky, whatever. I'm a man's man or whatever. But the way that this is written, it's not written like that. So even with the relationship between Hollywood and Vi, it's this way that he champions her. It's the way that he, no matter what's going on, we're going to make these pies, we're going to do this, and I'm not trying to be, yeah. Without trying to be like, I'm the man, we're going to do it my way, this, that, and the other. Like, I got your back here. All the way up until when she breaks down and says he has lupus. Now, the thing about it, that could have been played like, oh God, breaking down, but he feels that he has to be the strength at that moment too. So just as an actor, that's an interesting way to play it, and the complexities that these men have, and they're not like really soft dudes. Of course, it's like it's a very female-driven show. We have Ava being our creator. Last year Monica was our showrunner, but the way that they write these characters, these are real men, and no matter what they're going through, they're going to take it from that perspective.
And despite what we see on TV and what we see in film already, I feel like Ava, she had her little, she lives real life. They've been around real men. She has a father, she has a brother. And the fact that Ralph Angel stayed crying, but that's what people say, but it's like, hey, he do that boy know I get the waterworks, boy. Nah, I'm kidding. But in all honesty, we don't get to see many more. As a young black man, I don't.
That's true.
What immediate comes to mind is Radio, Cuba Gooding Jr. And I saw that years ago. I might have been under 10 years old, you know what I'm saying? Like mad young, But that's my reference to seeing a man crying. He played a special needs, character. He wasn't a guy who I could relate to literally because I don't see me on TV. So now there's people like Ralph Angel, who I had a friend of mine. He's actually the barber on set. And he told me, Wayne, y'all know Wayne. Jala. So anyway, he has 3 kids, 3 beautiful kids. And Wayne told me, he was like, Cove, we were just chilling after work. And he was like, Cove, my son just had a basketball game, and I pulled him to the side. And usually it's the normal thing. You don't cry in front of your kids or, go. He said, I pulled him to the side. I was so happy. Everybody's going, and he said his son ran straight to him. Like that. And usually he'd be like, good job, go back out there. He said, he pulled him to the side. And he said, I let him watch me cry, Cove. He said, I'll let him watch me cry. And I said, this is because of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're evoking this out of me. And it's no words, though. His son doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. He's just seeing his dad cry. Not yet. But he said, I learned that from Ralph Angel. Those were his exact words. And that, I want to be able to learn. I'm learning from Ralph Angel, too. You know what I'm saying?
For me, out of 35 years of doing this is the first time that I've had an opportunity to play obviously a black man that
because he could have you played a
women, black boys.
Welcome inside
You're a
my
really
head.
good actor.
It's the first time in 35 years that I've been able to play a man who's black, who really is not just a caricature. So this is the first time. Now we see white characters that are not caricatures all the time. I've been doing this for 35 years. This is the first time that I have played a man that is not a caricature, that a fully realized man through and through. Kofi and I did a scene this past season where we were just talking about how, and we could feel it, how important it was for us to be able to have a scene where 2 men showed each other love, and it wasn't a soft thing. It wasn't another lifestyle thing. It was just 2 men who loved it, because immediately,
and no extras.
Real talk.
It is what it is.
And particularly with our community, we go immediately there. Oh, what's going on? Like, it's real. These are 2 men who care about each other. Period. And to be able to have that kind of conversation, I remember the first time my brother and I, we hugged each other, we kissed each other on the cheek. Now, in other cultures, there's no problem with that. But with our folks and with our culture, it'd be like, what's going on with them? What's up with them? It's like, they love each other, man. This is his brother. What do you think is going on? Relax, take it easy. What I love about our show is you're allowed to go to the spaces that have been taught to you by the world, and then you look at those and examine it for a second, and you go, wow, I can't even believe I went there in my mind. Look how beautiful this is. You know what I'm saying? Even with Blue, with his doll, with Remy and Ralph Angel just sitting there and hugging each other and allowing each other to cry in front of one another. I mean, Ava has done such a fantastic job of painting such great portraits of strong women that move this show without emasculating the men that are behind them. It's phenomenal.
Timon, what about you?
The one thing that I really like, I've played a number of bad guys, and most of whom have been professional ball players. So to think about it. the ubiquitous light skin, can't keep his whatever. But what I've seen, from the first script that I read. With the audition where I first met Dawn, Rutina, and Ava, I started to see that these characters that I had played before were kind of one-dimensional. He's a cheater. He's a woman beater. He's a drug addict. I've played those guys. But, you know, we think about characters as being three-dimensional, but what Queen Sugar does, in my experience, it's not three-dimensional, it's the fourth dimension. You know, we go, you know, up, down, left, right, front, back, but we get to see what's inside. That fourth dimension that you don't, you know, it's like Dondre said, it's not a caricature. So to see Davis go from season 1, get lost bum, to I don't really know how I kind of feel sorry for this brother. Or, well, he did, but I mean, he was strong for his son. It's this whole confusion now. People don't really know how to feel about him, and I like that. You know, I like the fact that I can evoke a number of emotions. I probably maybe 2 of y'all in here feel the exact same way about the character that I play, but working with such robustly talented people who do not mind going there. I'm sure there's some actors in here who have been at auditions and the person who you're auditioning with don't want to go there. Dang, it's a tennis game, man. I hit it to you. You don't let it go past like a dog that's trying to play fetch. Throw it back. So I get that. You know, what I give is what I get back. It's an emotional echo that resonates throughout. Excuse me, the entire cast. And that feeling, like going back to the scene with Micah and his dad. You know, Nick and I, you know, he asked me, I forget how long ago, he's like, you know what happened? I said, what, with the police? I'm like, no, do you want to know? I said, no, I don't want to know. But what he gave me that day, when you see Davis jump back, that was real. I was like, I didn't know he was going to do that. But that allowed me, you know, the care and the love that I have and the protection that I have for Nick and everybody in the cast, but Nick and I spend a lot of time off camera. What you see is just, you know, I have a very strong affinity for Nicolas Ashe, and that carries over to Davis West's affinity for his son Micah. So Queen Sugar lets me breathe in all of it, the junk, the dust, the dirt, and the sand. I get to eat the meat and spit out the bones. I get to take what I want and give back what I don't want. And that's what life is about. And Queen Sugar it's changed my life so that I can give life. You get what I'm saying? Trying to get my Dondre Whitfield on, you know what I'm saying?
Now, you guys film in Louisiana and New Orleans. Are you there? How long are you there? Is it a 6
hot months?
6 hot months.
Hot ones.
So how does
hot 6 months?
How does location and being in the South to film this story affect your performances, affect the story, affect how you relate to who you're playing?
That's the other character.
We should have another seat right here for New Orleans.
You know, when you're dealing with something like that heat in Edgard and Vacherie, in the middle of those fields, I mean, we're actors. We use that stuff, man. I mean, we don't even mean to. You won't even mean to. Like, Kofi and I had a scene where we're outside the shed, we're just sitting around talking, flies just everywhere, we swatting, but it's just real, you know? I mean, and the land is another character. It's a huge character. And also the city of New Orleans is a character, you know, within itself. I mean, we use that, man.
Well, most of my scenes are air conditioned, so
He's not lying, actually. That's true. That's actually
I'm getting
true.
the other side of the experience of New Orleans, you know. The interior design aspect, you know.
We're gonna have to change that.
Some great tapestries up there, guys. Thank you.
Well, it's also, I think being in especially this season, because this season we saw the statues come down in New Orleans, that being in the South at this moment is profound. And it's profound to be doing this material on that land in the South. Those moments, that scene with me and you, where you talk about it, and that actually happened. I lived blocks from one of those statues. So there's something about, Tina has said this before, but this show is of our time, it's for our time, and it's right on time. And that's just, you feel it as you're doing it. You literally feel history and the present moment and the future converging as you're doing it. It's unlike anything else I've ever done in that way.
Well, in Rutina, your character, especially in terms of how with all the politics and the activism. And Trump's name, I think, is mentioned once, and it's in the scene when you're at the dinner table. And I'm curious about how politics infused this season, and if there are discussions with writers, if they want to go further and have it be more political than it is, or is it all about the reflection of politics personally?
I mean, I think I would say it is a reflection of our world. And it's an honest reflection, meaning that I feel like we present it in a way that you can take it in, engage, and talk about it. We don't really give an opinion either way. We sometimes do, but I would hope that we keep it sort of in a general sense of this is what's going on. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. It's uncomfortable, it's nasty, it's not so nice, but let's talk about this pink elephant that's been in the room for a while. And I'm meeting people on the streets that are like coming up to me saying, well, me and my family had a discussion last night about, and they just go on and on and on. And these are people who are saying to me that they don't usually talk in their families about politics, about police brutality, about anything. They kind of keep everything secrets. And I feel like I love that our show is kind of showing like no more secrets in your family. Take care of your people, talk about it, take care of each other, because life is too short, and when you're gone, you're gone. And then you're gonna wish you had talked about it. So I feel like we're presenting things in a way for people to really listen and start a conversation, hopefully.
And Dawn, talk about the addition of bringing Sharon Lawrence on to play your mom and those scenes. And Tina, your character's relationship with her is not so great. And the, to say, relationship with Dawn, Charley's mother, is not so great. And just the examination of you being mixed race and dealing with your blackness while also having a white mom, and having her try to navigate things in your business that are different than how you would navigate them because of who you are. I thought that whole storyline was fascinating and brought up a lot of interesting points.
Yeah, Sharon Lawrence is phenomenal. And it was unreal how she just slipped in as though she'd been there since season 1, episode 1. As though we'd all met her before, we'd all worked with her before, we'd clearly had a history with her. It speaks to her incredible generosity as an actor. We spoke and dug in so deeply to that relationship. And partly it's because I've been, like Nick, I've been walking with that information for a long time. And I wasn't talking about it because it also could have shifted, to be honest. Like, the writers could have, reshaped that storyline, and that mother could have been any mother. But we had talked about, Ava and I talked about that so early that I built it in to every character choice that I made. And I thought what was most important about it was Charley's reality, or her sense of being both apart and with, her sense of belonging and not belonging, and that constant, it's a relationship she has with that she belongs and she doesn't. In LA, she belongs, but she's in the sports world, she doesn't. In Louisiana, she's from there, sort of, and the farmers are like her dad, but they don't really know her. It's a big part of her identity. So it was a joy to create that with her, and really, it was a vulnerable experience because I'm biracial, and there is a relationship I have with belonging and not belonging, and to tell the truth about that, and to feel like I am putting my personal experience all the way in here, and it's not one that I assume people necessarily will understand or make room for, because there's a lot of assumption about that experience. And I've never seen it sort of unpacked in the way that we wanted to, which was in a messy way, in a where truths were sort of colliding with each other. And she was down. She was so game for that. So that was just a real joy.
Well, so much of the show is about being messy and kind of confounding the stereotypes that we're used to seeing and going one way when everyone's expecting it to go the other way. What were the moments when you picked up the script, besides Blue's paternity, when you were shocked or surprised that things were going the way they had written it? And were there ever times when you were unhappy with that?
Were you asking anybody? Oh, okay. I didn't want to jump on anybody. There have been a number of instances where, because what I like to do, if I'm in the episode, I like to just read my stuff. Because in the real world, I don't know what's going on in Vatchery while I'm in my loft in New Orleans. So, but when I go back after I've done my part, I'm like, I'm glad I didn't read that, because, what you laughing at? I'm glad I didn't read that, because the real life of it, what are y'all doing? It is, I like the surprises, because it keeps it real and authentic, and organic. It's not processed like, oh, I know what happens, now I have to act like I don't. You know what I'm saying? So there are a lot of instances. What y'all doing? So yeah, I like them. I like them a lot.
For me, there are 2 moments for Violet that I went, one was when she had the racist reaction to the friend that Hollywood, brought home. I was like, when did Violet become racist? And I had a conversation with Ava. Just, I was just certain that the writer's room had just gotten it wrong. And then Ava explained that there are lots of people, black and white, but lots of black people who don't have white people in their home. And that's real. And if we're telling the story about, real people and real options in terms of how people are living their lives, that's one. And so I was able to get down with that. I was surprised that Violet was sick. It's like, wait a minute, she's in love, She's in love and things are going really, really, really well. And then of course, isn't that life? It doesn't mean that when things are going well, we should expect bad. No, it means that life is just complicated and full. And the point is, how are we going to do it now with this on the table?
I am always in love, not just with what's going on with. What's going on here?
It's the socks.
Is it the green? Is it the green suit?
It's the socks.
Okay, all right.
It's the success socks.
We're just showing you,
wow.
all of us.
I felt a lot of jealousy there. I'm going to. As you can see, we are. The reason why our stuff jumps off the page and onto the screen is because we really love each other. We are a big family. What I love about our show is all of the misdirects where you go, wow, I didn't see that coming. I'm in love with those things, and I look for them every single script to see where the writers take that and go, wow, I didn't see that coming, and that's delicious, because if I'm saying wow, then we know that you guys are saying wow, and then at the end of the day, that's what counts.
There were 2 for me, and they both involved Blue. The first one was when I did not understand. I was like, why do I have to yell at him on our date scene? It was so hard for me to yell at Ethan. And I was like, but he's not really doing anything. Why would I just snap at him like that? But she's going through a lot, and she's so overwhelmed. And so but as Bianca, I was like, but why? I don't want to snap at him like that. But she's dealing with a lot and just trying so hard to hold it together and not fall off the wagon, and all of these new dynamics and relationships. And the second one was throwing the doll away. That was so hard for me. When I heard that, I was like, what? Why am I throwing the doll away? That's like a security blanket. But I think, there's something about moms get shamed for not being perfect. And the fact that she then says to Ralph Angel, I felt like he just needed the doll when I wasn't there, and he's still holding on to that doll, and I'm here. And so it makes me feel like I'm not a good mom, that there's something wrong with me as a mother. And so to admit that and to have that kind of rawness, that vulnerability, once I did it and I saw it, I thought, I understand, I completely understand. But when I first read it, my instinct was like, no, but why?
Regina, did you have one?
I kind of already said it, but when Calvin came back, when I got that script, I was not okay. I was like, no, he's the love of my life. He's everything. He's Nova's everything. So when we did that scene, that was, I think now that has become the hardest day for me on set ever in my career. I was distraught because Greg and I are actually really close friends, and also just our connection is what it is. I mean, from the moment we tested together, it was like a connection. So there was something in Rutina being like, oh, my scene partner, and Nova being like, I love you, but that thing and that other thing that happened. And so it was really hard to navigate that, because how do you not do, I mean, I think we shot that scene like 10 times, and because we had to just keep working it. And I remember yelling it and crying, and she got me to the point where I was distraught, face, tears, makeup gone. And then she went, action, go. And that's actually the cut that she used. But it was the hardest. It was the hardest for me, because to have to do a scene that takes you really in the depths of your soul, and you're trying to figure it out and navigate it, and how to get your intentions across to the person that you love, even though you're letting them go. It was tough, but the writing, when I was still and just said the words, it came out. Like I didn't have to do much with it. I just had to speak. So
we're going to open it up to some of the audience questions. The first one is from Kiki Haynes, and it's directed to Rutina, Dawn, Tina, and Bianca. With the show being directed by so many brilliant women, do any of you have interest in directing an episode of your own? Yep. And who's doing it first?
Yes.
Are you?
What's your name? Who are you?
I guarantee you they do. I guarantee you they do.
I actually do. I do want to direct. I'm terrified of it, but I think that's why I should do it, because it scares me. Yeah, so yeah.
Anyone else?
Let me tell you why he's saying that.
Do you direct him in the scenes?
He thinks that I do. Okay? He thinks that I do. And the reality is I don't. I happen to look and have a similar vibe to his wife, who is now a director. There's a little bit of a work-wife dynamic that gets confused. That being said, I do want to direct.
Tina, Bianca?
Yeah, I actually am surprised that I can say I do want to direct, because coming into Queen Sugar, I did not want to direct. I've always thought, it's way too much responsibility, and I like coming in, doing my acting thing, and leaving. But it's kind of, there's something seductive about watching Ava and watching these other directors come in and play and be supported by our crew in a way that makes, and having a perspective on a scene. Well, everyone who knows me knows I have a perspective. So, yeah, so I think I could see myself doing that now. I definitely want to direct Dondre.
So unused to being directed by a woman.
Bianca.
Still thirsty? You good back there?
For years, people asked me to direct, and I was like, oh, I don't direct, that's too much. But I actually I think I would love that, actually. I think Kat, who's our now new showrunner, she told me that she originally went to drama school to be an actor, and she realized what she really loves is creating worlds. And I was like, yeah, like that's, I actually, thinking about it in that way, I think that would probably be easier for me maybe than even acting, because I tend to be so shy, and so to kind of be in the background and creating this world, I think now I'm coming around to thinking like, okay, I think that would be something I'd like to do.
Good, more female directors.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you want to?
Well, no, because my wife, and I think that our sisters feel comfortable about being able to go to that place on our show, because really our show is set up for you to win. Our show is really set up for you to win. Out from our crew, the cast is going to give you a 1,000%. I think if you ask every single one of them, they probably didn't feel like they wanted to direct before this, because you never got that supportive feeling prior to being on this show. And this show makes you feel like, you know what? I think I can do this because I know my team is setting me up to win.
Now, here is a question for Dondre and Dawn. Why is Charley afraid of marriage and a serious relationship, and how is Remy emotionally coping with his wife's death?
Would you like to go first?
No, go ahead. Yes, she is true. That's true.
But you see how I offered him space?
You see what kind of man I am? I said, no, you first.
Why is Charley afraid of a serious relationship, of marriage and a serious relationship, and how is Remy emotionally coping with his wife's death?
I think that Charley's in a space that she has literally, figuratively, emotionally never been in before. I think she's spent season 2 unpacking in every way possible, right? Like she's unpacking her actual physical space, and she's unpacking, I think, her inner space. And I think part of what she's confronting, especially when her mom shows up actually, is a fracture that's been there before Davis, that was there before Micah. And I think in some ways she avoided it and avoided sort of figuring out who she is without something outside of her defining her. So with Davis, it was the career and the achievement and the success and the win. And then she goes back home, and it's in some ways still a win. It's a new win that's she's attaching to defining her. And then when the land goes, when the letter's revealed and she no longer has the land, I think we start to see a nakedness with her. And that was the only reason for me that I felt the relationship with Darla could actually happen, was because there's no ground anymore. And I think that's good for her. And I think somewhere she recognizes that it's good for her, because her relationship with control is so intense. And I think in some ways it has been her superpower. You know, she's been able to get things done and put things in places and absolutely masterfully manage her life and the life of her husband and all of that. But I think it's cost her in ways that she's just now beginning to touch. And I think heading into a role again, heading into partnership with that kind of commitment, I think there's a freedom she's just beginning to like glimpse that some part of her recognizes it's not the time to cut that off yet.
I think that what gets activated in Remy from Charley is that his wife was in the military, and so she was able to take care of herself and be forceful, and so he's sort of attracted to that. And I don't think he ever really saw anyone like that afterwards, and I don't think he was looking. And then all of a sudden, she sort of snuck up in that space. And I think that that's what he recognizes in her. When you see the reveal of the house for the first time, this was a sanctuary that he built for his wife with the expectation that there were going to be children coming. And so this was going to be the sanctuary away from all of the stuff. When we shot that scene, I had to keep drinking water, and I never went to the bathroom because I was peeing through my eyes. Because every single, take it easy.
Very vivid.
That entire night was like, every time I drank, the water was just coming out of my eyes, because we were shooting this scene, and each time we went through it, it was just another bleed of like water. And there was a clock in there, like a grandfather clock that was in there, and they forgot to remove it. And these are the kinds of things that you when you're really playing with the people that you trust, you use everything that happens. And that clock went off during this take, and I could feel everybody shifting, going, oh, this ruined the take. But we sat there and we just waited for it. And in my mind, as an actor, I began making up a story, which was, I always wanted to get Remy, always wanted to get rid of the clock, but my wife wanted to keep the clock. And now when that clock goes off, that's like her saying, baby, I'm still here with you. And boy, that was a take that was so powerful. We couldn't use it because obviously it just went, but it was one of those things where you're really playing with the people that you trust, and you go, wow, man, this is just magic. So all of that stuff with Remy and his ex-wife and seeing Charley, like, he's not playing games with her. Like, he's like, yo, let's do this. I never wanted to do this before, but I see this in you. So let's stop playing. And if you can't commit to me, then I gotta go.
The crying is really impressive. The stream of tears that roll down all your cheeks is really just...
Rutina Wesley.
I mean...
Rutina Wesley, let me tell you something. She has a remote control on her tears. If you look at all of the scenes, there's a small little remote control that Rutina's holding in her hand, and she'll turn to the side like this right here, and then she'll blink, and then I'm like, how did you do that? It's crazy.
Well, the final question is actually from Erica, and it is to Rutina. And she wants to know, are you this intense in your everyday life? She says she feels every emotion on screen in all your scenes.
That's a good question.
I leave it all on the stage. You know what? I've been told that I'm intense, but it's intense in like a funny way, because like when I'm super intense and dramatic and like say I'm angry, like my friends kind of laugh at me because it's like Rutina angry, and Rutina angry is still kind of like, I'm mad, don't do it again, you know, like because I wouldn't hurt a flea. So, and I hate confrontation. So which is funny, for me to play Nova, I don't like confrontation. So Nova and like even Tara from True Blood a little bit, I got to be a woman that's like not afraid of confrontation. I say what I want, speak my mind. But in real life, if you say the wrong thing to me, like I might run into the corner and cry. Like that's like, I'm a flower. And I'm actually, I'm really shy. And a lot of people don't know that about me. But I mean, I'm loud, but like I'm shy. I'm loud just because I want you to think that I'm not shy, but I'm actually terrified all the time. So no, I'm not that intense, but I'm very, very silly. Like I'm a clown. Like I like to I didn't fall doing something silly, but I'm like, I laugh at myself a lot because you gotta laugh at life. And playing Queen Sugar has taught me to embrace all of the things about myself and just love up on myself more. So that's like what I've been trying to do. But that's funny that you say that. I'm intense. Am I intense, guys? Am I intense in real life?
Yes.
Okay.
You know what she is? She's secretly hilarious. Like she should have a Netflix comedy special.
Do that, not here.
She should have stand-up. She should do stand-up.
Well, until then, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it.